We have a long weekend in New Zealand this weekend for Easter. So today's Friday and Monday are public holidays. So I've got a long weekend to work on things. I really want to get onto the doors of the car, but I thought I'd better do an update on the KT250. I've just been doing little bits and pieces, slowly putting it back together, cleaning it up. As I've mentioned, it's not a full restoration. I'm just trying to make a tidy muck around the garden bike. And it's coming on pretty well. So I've been bolting things back onto it. I did realise that I hadn't done the exhaust yet, so last weekend I spent quite a bit of time wire brushing that, cleaning it up, and then painting it. I painted it with high temperature. Let's have a look over here. This is a local paint that you can get in New Zealand, Colour Lab High Heat Black. So I've never used it before. I'll see how it goes. It's the same brand that I used to paint the tank, and it sprays beautifully. It just comes out really well. The tank, I've mentioned before that I clear coated it with sort of 2K in a can clear coat. That's worked out really well as well. I did get a few bits in the paint, unfortunately, just little black specks, but it's good enough. It's close enough for a beater sort of bike. And it is petrol proof, that 2K paint, so that's good. The exhaust, I baked the bits I could in my little toaster oven because the paint needs to be heated up to really bake it on. And I left the pipes in the back of the Land Rover, which probably isn't hot enough, but it did help dry the paint. And then today I fitted that back on there. It's a bit of a fiddle. You can do it with everything in place. You kind of have to hook this around and then turn it backwards. I've cleaned up all the mounting things. I reused the gaskets, copper gasket, so that was fine. I still need to figure out exactly where all these cables run. It is something like that, so it's all out of the way. It goes up under the tank. There's a bolt here that holds it under the seat, and there's a joiner here. I'm actually missing the joiner piece. So when I got this, there was sort of silicone sealant around this join. I may do something similar. I just need to get some sort of high temp sealant in there. It's either dust or it's already rusting. I'm not sure how well this is going to hold up rust wise. It was pretty hard to clean it, especially down here where it's all sort of rough surface. Trying to get all of the rust out of it was a bit tricky. I was hoping to use some phosphoric acid, but I ran out, so I need to get some more of that. And then one thing I discovered when I fitted the exhaust is with these new generic sort of shocks, when they're mounted the correct way up with the springs at the top, the exhaust wouldn't fit. There's not enough clearance here. So I ended up turning these over, which I know isn't correct. It's one of those things where if you ask online whether or not you can turn shocks like this upside down, you've got a lot of people with opinions, but not so many people with actual experience. I find that quite often when you ask questions on the internet. I'm usually asking, well, who's got actual experience of this? The problem is you get a ton of people who have read about it or they've heard somebody else's opinion, and you know, they'll have their say, but it's not from experience. So I think it'll work. Maybe the shocks won't last as long, but given the amount of miles this bike will get used, I don't think it's a problem. In order to do that, I did have to push the bushes out because the mounting lugs are different diameters. So I had to swap the bushes around, but that was easy enough to push those out and then swap them over, push them back in. And that gives me the clearance I need around the exhaust. So that'll work fine. What else have I done on it? Lights, I haven't actually attached any of the wiring. There are sort of cable clamps that go around this. They're sort of special ones, but I'm just going to use black cable ties, I think. That'll work fine. I've been cleaning up the controls. So I've put this all back together with the horn button. The horn button is all mangled, but that's okay. It works. I don't know if it's been melted or what's happened there, but that's how it was. The high-low switch is broken. The only way to fix that would be get another one, which is a bit tricky. So I've just left it set in the low position for now. I'm not really worried about that. These, I think they're called perches. where the handles clamp on, these bits are fine. This is where the bolt goes through. It's threaded on the bottom, but the pivots and the actual levers get very worn out. This is actually the better one. So this is the brake, and this is the little special bolt that goes through it, sort of a shoulder bolt. And you can see there's a ton of wear in there, which just makes the pedals, the handles sort of floppy, I guess. So the way I'm going to fix that is, well, one, you can just buy new ones, I believe, but I want to reuse everything that I can and keep it as original as possible. So I came up with this weird setup in the mill so that I can drill this out, and I'm going to bush it with a brass bush inside there. So I have the brass set up in the lathe. I'm just going to measure everything, turn that down, set it up on the bike, and I can mark where I need to drill through the bush. So that's what I'll do next. So after machining up the little brass insert, I made it so it was kind of a push fit in there. I used some Loctite around it as well. I don't think that's really necessary. But now what I can do is fit that back in there. It looks like it's actually pretty on center, and now I can just re-drill that hole in the middle for the little bolt that goes through there. It's not going to be perfect because there is a little bit of wear on this side as well, but it should be good enough. It should really make it feel a lot better, a lot tighter. So now with the little brass bush in place, there's no play on that little bolt that fits through there. There is a little bit of play up and down because this is worn just a little bit, so it can move up and down a little bit, but it's not too bad. And I think once the cable's attached, it'll all be nice and tight. I've actually got the bike pretty much all back together apart from the wheels and the brakes. I've been figuring out where the wiring runs, trying to get it neat out of the way, get it out of the way of the exhaust, obviously. Ow. The headlight is on and all the wiring is back inside there. I fixed up the wiring for the engine stop switch. I have the cables and the controls all back in place. No front brake cable yet. I think the clutch may be sticking again. This was a problem I had when I first got the bike. The clutch was stuck, and I haven't actually looked inside there yet. I should probably do that. I won't really be able to tell until I've got the back wheel and the chain on to see if it really is sticking. But I thought, well, everything's there, the wiring's all there, the exhaust is in place. I did have to, inside the little mounting thing here, there's the copper gasket, and then there's two half metal rings, and I actually had those the wrong way around. So I had to take those off and redo them. But it does actually go. This is going to be a bit hard to do. I will see if I can start it. Put the Kickstarter out of the way. When it starts, it usually starts pretty easily. So let's give it a try. some smoke burning off the exhaust because that's all new paint, of course. But it actually goes again. I don't seem to have lights, which I'm sure when I first started it I did see the light come on, but that doesn't seem to be working again now. So that's something I need to look at. Not that I'm too worried about that, but it does run again, and it's definitely starting to look like a bike again. These are the little things that hold the seat in place. I did notice the first time I started it there was some arcing off this, and this is the connection that goes to the brake light switch, which I don't have, so there must be some voltage there. But no, I'm very pleased with that. I'm pleased that it still actually runs. That's very good. So I think what I need to do is actually drain the gearbox oil and put fresh oil in it. This is the two-stroke oil. The oiler seems to be working. I'm not sure if you could notice it then, but it was pumping oil through, which is good. And obviously I need to play with the idle speeds and things like that. But it fires right up. That's pretty good, I think.